Hello. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. It's very late, so we can't see people around because they are all running home. But yes, we're going to talk about missing links of security. As we are here to talk about security, cyber security, that what happens to the network, what happens to the enterprise when we are talking about any kind of data. Data can be anything. That can be email, that can be like web data, like your application servers, anything, right? So I'll be talking about this thing for next couple of minutes, and as Santa Monica people, just give my introduction. My name is GAURANG MARU, and I'm technical manager for Baltic and Nordic region. We're working with Cyberoam since last 4 years. So when we think about this word or the line missing security link, what exactly comes into our mind? We are talking about something which could lead the security breaches to my network. How my network can be, like attacked or something like that, correct? So to secure our network, the very first thing we have to make sure that we have to understand that how my network can be exploited. Can be like the challenges, how the security challenges are coming towards us. And if we talk about any challenges which are coming towards us, that is just because the way we are growing in IT sector. Needs are becoming more and more every day. And the way you increase the productivity or you increase the internet things, security becomes a concern again and again. Because we need high performance and we need internet all time available to have the higher productivity. And when we are trying to allowing the users to access the resources from internet, of course, users do not know what they are actually downloading, the way the previous presentation was explaining, right? So in this situation, the main concern, that is BYOD and the cloud, which makes us to think about that security is a major concern. When you are talking about BYOD, you don't know the user who is bringing his own device into a network and what is he going to do. He can send any of data. So we have to control the BYOD devices or the cloud or the virtualization networks, because those are the major things. Let us talk about cloud. We are actually buying the service from the external third party and we are uploading our data. So when we are sending our data, are they secure? So these things are becoming more and more complex when we are trying to improve the productivity or when we are trying to improve the network. That is the complexity, the new threat. Because the way we are trying to improve the network, we are actually gaining the complexity in our network, that you want to use or you want to allow the user to access some kind of data, but you also want to make sure that that data which is being allowed to the user is not getting any threat in my network. Apart from that, as I mentioned earlier, that web applications, we are allowing users to access my website or my web server by publishing it. But when I'm allowing the external resources to access my web server, I'm actually allowing the users, or it can be like SQL injection to my web server to get the data, or like, they can attack your web servers. So the no escape for the deep web. When we are talking all these things, it leads us that we are leaving some holes when we are constructing our network. So, of blind eyes and blind spots, which are actually creating or which are actually inviting attackers to attack my network and to gain the access or steal the data. And the very good example is last year. If you look at the last year data, the very first one, 2013 years, the last year had the maximum attacks wherein the credentials were stolen. Like 800 million records were lost. And the maximum data, or you can see this blog, which says attackers are using the social media to, like the phishing. The way the previous presentation was explaining about the phishing email, wherein you click on that, and they just get the credentials. So with this one, I have given it a very good name, that the year of stealing credentials. Because in last year, Adobe, who had lost almost 38 million credentials. And the very, very informative thing which came out of this one was, normally being a user, we try to make everything very easy for us. And hence, we keep one complex password, but that password is being used like for my banking, for my email account, for my Facebook account, and all those stuff. It's very easy. Once I get this credential, I will try it with your account, and I may be able to get it. So I can hack anything. Similar thing happened with Twitter. More than 250,000 accounts were hacked. And by the time 250,000 accounts were hacked, Twitter came to know that they are being attacked. And the attack was so sophisticated that no one can understand that how they are trying to. Okay? Okay. All right, thank you. So yes, by the time Twitter came to know that they are under attack, it was more than 250,000 credentials were lost. And the CEO, or sorry, the technical director of Twitter, they just said that it was so sophisticated that it was very easy attack. They just tried to pull in all the information and they just spread it over. Similarly with Facebook, Gmail, and Twitter, altogether it was more than 2 million attacks. Sorry, 2 million credentials which were stolen. So what exactly they do? Are they running any virus in your network? Definitely yes. But what they pick when you are trying to access any specific, I will say the website or the URL, like a banking website, like a Facebook, they just take out the credential information, nothing else. And then after, they just use that to exploit it. So all these things happens because we are missing somewhere in this construction of our network to secure our network. So how we can avoid that? So that is the main agenda of this presentation. It's time for some fiction, that how to learn, how to block it. It's something interesting. I believe everyone has seen this movie, Matrix, very old movie. But the part which I want to share here is this one. Can anyone do this? Not really. Because we don't know how to do it. Or we are not trained how to do it. So, cybersecurity professional, how to get these things working? First of all, we have to understand how these attacks are coming to us, or who is the user is being attacked and how it is trying to send it over. So this is how the Cyberoam, or I will say how actually the victim is being found. Now it become a victim. So that is, I believe, Sarah and yes, Donald Dublin. So they are the victim. Is it easy for us to identify who are victim over here? Let us talk about this conference room itself. Do we know who is the victim? Is it easy for us? Not really. For that, we have to learn how to identify. And when we talk about the information technology, or when we talk about the security in networks, we need someone who can tell, okay, John was the one who is sending the malicious information. Or we have to find, okay, Sally, she's been responding the emails a lot of time, but she doesn't know that phishing emails are coming to her mailbox. So we have to train her that, okay, you do your job well, but you have to learn which email should be responded. Or the CEO himself is being attacked and he got, let us say, C2C malware. And if we don't have any mechanism who can figure it out or who can help us to know that CEO is the one who has been sending such kind of, who has been infected and he's trying to send some information over the internet. It is 80 to 20 ratio. That is, out of 20% of users, they are actually having 80% of threat in your network. So to get these things working or to resolve these things, we got two options. One, we got such mechanism who can say us or tell us that, hang on, you got some users who are trying to send some malicious information over the globe, or we get some human intelligence. And as we just, as I was just into last presentation, it was saying it is very costly. Definitely it is very costly, and it is time consuming as well. By the time you do all those steps, you are gone, right? So seems gonna help us in this case. Again, the same picture which I just mentioned. Can we know who is the victim over here? No. Wherein Cyberoam actually bringing that science fiction, which I just showed you in the last movie, user threat quotient. That is UTQ, which helps you to identify which user is the one who is trying to send the suspicious or malicious information to the internet, so that you can take corrective action on him. We are talking about the gateway level. Like user threat UTQ graphs, wherein this is the user. So hang on, I'll just go to that user and I'll make sure that his PC is not infected, or if I will just make him understand that you need a training. You need to understand that every email shouldn't be just clicked. This is a CEO example. CEO himself is on the top list, so I have to take care of that. We just check for the user, we just check for the CEO. It could be any employee that can start from the junior employee to the management, that is based on the rank or status or years in organization or devices to be used in your network or devices being used in your network. The second part, the thing which we just learned or which we just went through, is about like the user who is sending the malicious information and to rectify the user who is sending the malicious information. Now, if I want to if I want to apply any kind of policy on that, or if I want to also do, I also just want to apply kind of policy which will prevent any things which are coming into my network, there is a but obvious antivirus scanning. I can also apply the IPS scanning. But for IPS, it is very, I will say, very important that you learn how to apply IPS, because I can have like 5,000 or 10,000 IPS signatures in my appliance, but if I apply all the signatures in my traffic gonna be damn slow. So for that, ready to IPS policy, the templates we already have. How many IT managers know the way I just mentioned? No one. They just say, I got my network, I want to apply IPS. But a very good example out of this, that let us say I'm just having my web server in my network and I'm applying the generic IPS policy which has SMTP signatures, which has the DNS signatures and all those stuffs, which are not at all relevant for that. So for that, we made the default or the generic policies, or else we also have the categorization, how you want to apply the IPS policy. Let us say you got the Apache server or the HTTP server, simply apply the Apache server signatures in your network when the traffic is flowing from the Cyberoam, so you are secure with the IPS signatures. Of course, you're going to have the antivirus as well. Linking with the Cyberoam with the EL4 certificate and all ICSL labs certified, we support all the regulatory compliance, that is PCI, DSS, all those stuff. So you do not have to even look for the compliance management, because when we are talking about the UTQ or whenever we are talking about the gateway level product, being a organization or being a big organization, we always want that compliance management report should be coming out of it. So that comes along with the Cyberoam itself, and definitely it prevents unauthorized access to sensitive information with the help of the antivirus scanning and the IPS and the UTQ. And for that, we also provide the training and education to bridge the security gaps. This is more about Cyberoam, that layer 8 identity-based firewall. We know, being a network people, we know there are 7 layers. But we also have layer 8. We call user as a layer 8 because we believe, or definitely it's not believing, but it is very true, that the user is the one who is doing any kind of activity. So if you can control the user, everything is controlled. On appliance web application firewall, logging and reporting. The logging and reporting, that also helps you with the compliance management report. So you do not have to go out to get the reporting solution or the compliance management solution. It gives you gigabit throughput for SOHO and SMB models as well. And only one vendor who is having ISO 20000:2011 certificate for the support or the customer care support. Technical support, I'm saying. As everyone knows, Cyberoam is a Salesforce company with sales and channel distribution across more than 125, or I will say more than 140 countries in the world. And the vendor with more than 500 plus R&D department, employees in the R&D department who are always working with IPS or any kind of new features coming on Cyberoam and all those stuff. And identity-based management, which are actually been introduced to market by Cyberoam. So we are waiting for the patent because we have already patented this patent. And yes, the one which I just mentioned in my previous slide, the world's first network security vendor with the certification. And yep, these are all the certification about Cyberoam product like ICSC, checkmark certificates. And if you look at this Gartner report, Cyberoam is the most visionary appliance or the vendor in UTM market. And that was all from my end. Is there any question, guys? All right. Thank you. Or else Houston is always here. Santa Monica guys is always here, so you can ask them a question. Thank you.